now start sharing the screen. Sorry, I can't do this fast. Some of you know it takes a while to get everything there. Okay, so I was actually done with chapter 0 last time. So I'm going to go straight to chapter 1. Now, as I mentioned last time, for those of you who didn't catch it, I remember my lectures are always recorded. So if you miss a day, you can always go back and look at the video. We lost the day. My original thought was that we were going to end on May 25th. We're not. We're ending on the 20th. That's our final exam. So we need to gain a day somewhere. I thought the best way to gain a day is at the beginning when we're always reviewing. Okay. So if possible, I'm not going to change the exam day. So our first exam is still Tuesday, 2/2, but maybe I can sneak in something over here and push 6.1 over to here. But we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to do chapter 1 and hopefully some of chapter 2, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so that's that. This is the assignment for chapter 1. Okay, and the chapter 2 test is not that long either. Okay, and again, for those of you that are scared about the word test, this is just the back of the chapter. Okay, so you're not taking a real test until we do exam 1. Okay, so 1 to 12, 16 and 19, and everything is a review of algebra. Okay, all of this is a review of algebra. Okay, so I'm going to show you the problems now in case you say, I don't want to buy the book, or your book isn't the same as my book, which is actually true for a lot of you. But you can get any edition of the text that you want, 11th edition, 10th edition, 12th edition. The main thing is that you're doing the problems. Okay, as time goes by, when I get over here, I'm going to be doing a lot of the even problems, and you'll just be doing the odd problems that are similar to that. Okay, so if you never want to buy the book and just go off of my book, then here we go. So my page 117. Okay, so there's that. And 3, 4, 5. Okay, and again, if I'm going too fast, don't forget this is being recorded, so you can just look at the video and pause, fast forward, rewind as much as you want. Okay, then on page 118, here's a little more. Okay, I'm actually lifting the book up. Again, my document camera doesn't have a function for focus, so the only way I can do it is to raise it up. There's some more. And let's see, the highest problem was 19, so show you up to 19. I don't think you have to do one. Yeah, we don't have to do those. So 16 and 19. Okay, so there's 16. Hopefully you can read that. And 19 is over here. Yeah, there's 19. Okay, so let me try to do as much of these as possible. All right, problem 1 says solve for x. So 10 minus 2 times 2x minus 9 minus 4 times 6 plus x equals 52. Okay, so I will do that problem. If you didn't get it, that's okay. I wrote it down over here. Okay, so this was the problem. Solve for x. Okay, there's no x squared. So I will use the distributive property, right? Multiply all this out. So -2 times that and that, -4 times that and that. So 10 minus 4x, -2 times -9 is plus 18. Okay, then I distribute the -4 times 6 is -24 and minus 4x, right? So -2 times these two gives me that. -4 times these two gives me that. Okay, and now I combine like terms. So on the left-hand side, -4x, another -4x, so that's -8x, right? And let's see, 10 plus 18 is 28, minus 24 is 4. Okay, so I have -8x plus 4 equals 52. So that's pretty easy. Subtract 4 on both sides, these cancel out. -8x equals 48. Divide by -8. So x is equal to 48 divided by -8, or -6. Final answer, x equals -6. Okay, number 3 is a little bit harder because of the fractions. And yeah, every now and then my screen turns yellow. I don't know why, but so number 3, 3 over x plus 4 equals 4x over x plus 1. Definitely harder kind of problem. Okay, so how do I do that now? Let me check something here. Okay, I want to get rid of the fractions. So I'll multiply both sides by the common denominator, which is x times x plus 1. So I put that in red. So this was the original problem. And I say to myself, I don't like the fractions. So the common denominator is x times x plus 1. Multiply both sides of the equal sign by x times x plus 1. Okay. That's going to get rid of that. That's going to get rid of that. Okay. And furthermore, there is a variable in the denominator. Okay. Now, do you recall in mathematics, we're never allowed to divide by a certain number? Remember what that is? Just think to yourself. You don't have to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. You're never allowed to divide by 0, right? So x cannot be equal to 0 nor negative 1, right? So I say to myself, what makes this 0? Well, 0. And what makes this 0? Negative 1. Okay, so that means now when I do blah, 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 if I end up with either 0 or negative 1, throw it out. It doesn't work, right? Because if I end up with 0, you have 3 divided by 0, say, I can't do that. And if I get negative 1, if you put negative 1 here, negative 1 plus 1 is 0, and you can't do that either. Okay. All right, now with that in mind, let me finish the rest of this problem. So multiply 3 over x by x plus 1. The x's cancel out. So I have 3 times x plus 1, right? Then plus 4 times that, well, it's just 4x, x plus 1. There's no cancellation. There's no fraction here. So 4x, x plus 1 equals, now on this side, if I take this fraction times both of these, x plus 1 cancels out, right? This one here, this one here. So you have 4x times x, 4x squared. So I now have this equation, and I like this much better because now there's no more fraction, right? It's far from being finished, but at least I know what to do now. Okay, so now I distribute. So 3 times both of them, 3x plus 3, right? 4x times both of them, 4x times x is 4x squared, and then plus 4x times 1 is 4x. And notice if I subtract 4x squared on both sides, gone, 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 gone. That's nice. So this becomes 0. I have 3x plus 4x, 7x plus 3 equals 0. Now that's very easy, right? So subtract 3, 7x equals negative 3. Divide by 7, x is equal to negative 3/7. So I wrote it over here. X is negative 3/7. That's my final answer. Just leave it like that. You don't have to change it to a decimal unless they tell you to. And a quick double check. I didn't get 0. I didn't get negative 1. So I'm good. So negative 3/7. Right, so that's number 3. Okay, now a much harder question. Question number 5. But we're setting you up for calculus. Okay, a lot of our class is calculus, believe it or not. Just an introduction to calculus. We're going to see this expression quite a bit, unfortunately. F of x is 7 plus 5x minus 2x squared. Find f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. Oh boy, how do we do that? Okay, we're going to do a lot more of that when we get to calculus. Okay, and if that was too fast, don't worry, I have it written down here. So f of x is this thing. Find all of this. F of x plus h minus f of x all over h. Okay, well, the h is no big deal. I just copied the h. Okay. Now, f of x is not that bad. Okay, can you guess what I'm going to write in place of f of x? Hint, look above. It's all this stuff. Okay, so temporarily ignore this. That bothers us, right? But minus f of x is that. It's minus the original, is it not? And the h is no big deal. There's the h. So the only hard thing is this f of x plus h, right? F of x, there's the f of x. I just copied that. It has to be in parentheses. Okay. And now the hard part, f of x plus h. Okay. So you did functions in your algebra class, I'm sure. How do I do f of x plus h? Okay, in the original, pretend you erase this x, erase it, put x plus h. Erase that x, put x plus h. So it's not going to look like this. So all of this junk right here is f of x plus h. 7 plus 5, pretend you erase this x, put parentheses x plus h. Minus 2, erase that x, put parentheses x plus h. Okay, so that's the way it looks. And then let me raise it up again. So for focusing. So f of x plus h is this mess. 7 plus 5 parentheses, pretend you erase that x, put x plus h. Minus 2, pretend you erase that x, put parentheses x plus h squared. Minus the original f of x in parentheses all over h. Okay, and now I just have some heavy duty algebra to clean that up. Okay. All right, so here we go. So 7 plus distribute 5x plus 5h minus 2. Okay, x plus h squared. I use the shortcut formula, x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Okay, that's a formula for the square of a binomial, you might recall. Okay, if you have a plus b squared, this is the formula. You square this, x squared, you square h squared, and then the middle one is plus 2xh. Now, if you're not comfortable with that, you can just go x plus h times x plus h and FOIL it out. But it's a lot faster to do this. And yeah, there's still a minus 2 in front. Okay, minus parentheses. Now, do you remember what happens when you have minus parentheses? All that happens is you change every sign. So it's minus 7, minus 5x, and then minus a minus is plus 2x squared. Is that right? Okay, so now I have all this mess. And then one more thing is distribute the negative 2. So negative 2 times that, that, and that. And then finally, I can combine like terms. It's quite a long problem. Okay, 7 plus 5x plus 5h. Temporarily ignore the red, but you can see where I'm headed. Okay, that's minus 2x squared. Negative 2 times 2xh is minus 4xh. Minus 2h squared. And leave that alone, leave that alone, leave that alone. So I have this super long numerator, but a lot of stuff cancels out. Okay, so let's see what I can show you canceling out. 7 and a minus 7. Right? Let's see. 5x cancels a minus 5x. Negative 2x squared cancels a positive 2x squared. So you have a lot of cancellations, and the only ones that don't cancel are the ones that I have circled. Okay, so again, 7's cancel, 5x cancels, 2x squared cancels. So what doesn't cancel is that one, and that one. Okay, and what do you notice is a common factor for this, this, and this? What do they all have in common? They all have an h. So I'll factor out the h. So parentheses 5 minus 4x minus 2h. Okay, so again, take out the h, factor out the common factor of h. 5 minus 4h, x becomes minus 4x, minus 2h squared becomes minus 2h, divided by h. And these h's can cancel out. So finally, we're done. 5 minus 4x minus 2h. Okay. So that was a long one. It's definitely quite long. Okay. Okay, then we show you number 6, which is an inequality. Number 6, 1 plus 2/3 x less than or equal to 3x plus 22. Okay, and I've got it over here. Let me raise it up again. Easier. Okay, I don't like fractions. I suspect a lot of you don't like fractions either. Okay, so the original didn't have the red. Okay, so that's my convention. The red is the new stuff. The original was the blue. Okay, I see the 2/3. I don't like the fraction, so I'll multiply both sides by 3 to get rid of the fraction. right? So 3 times this, 3 times this, 3 times this, 3 times this. Why? That's going to cancel right here. Okay, so 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2/3 x, 3 cancels that 3, so I just have 2x. Less than or equal to 3x times 3 is 9x. 22 times 3 is 66. Okay, so now here's my new inequality. A little bit better, no more fractions. Okay, so now let's see, you have x on both sides of the inequality. Get them to be on the same side. So I will subtract 9x. Subtract 9x, that cancels out. And while I'm at it, I'll subtract 3 also. So minus 3, right? Whatever you do on one side, you do on the other side. 2x minus 9x is a negative 7x. Gone, 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 gone. 66 minus 3 is 63. Now, one thing that's easy to forget, it's tricky. So how do I isolate the x? Divide by negative 7. But I'm dividing by a negative. You might recall, when you multiply or divide by a negative, the inequality symbol reverses. So watch out for that trick. If you want, you can put that on your formula sheet. Remember, you get to have a cheat sheet for every test. Okay. If you want to put that, if you say I already know it, then don't put that down. Save your formula sheet for, something else. Remember, on a test, you get one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper like this. You can write in the front and the back. But the more you write for stuff like this, then the less you have for something else. Okay. But when you multiply or divide by negative, the inequality reverses. So it becomes x is greater than or equal to negative 9. Okay, so it was less than or equal to, now greater than or equal to. Okay, the answer is to graph that. So greater than or equal to negative 9. Here we are. Close circle on negative 9 because you're including negative 9. If you did not have that line underneath it, remember what happens? If it was just x is greater than negative 9, you would have an open circle. And then greater than means shade to the right. So there we are. Okay. Okay, next thing I'll show you was number 7. So 7 and 8 are similar. I'll do 7. Find the intercepts and graph the functions. 5x minus 6y equals 30. Now, you might recall from algebra, if you have an x-intercept, it means y is 0. If you have a y-intercept, x is 0. Okay. And again, if you say, I don't remember that, or I never heard of that, put that on your cheat sheet if you wish. X-intercept means y is 0. Y-intercept means x is 0. Okay. In fact, if I go quickly to the graph, okay, so I'm sure you've heard of x-intercept, y-intercept. Okay, x-intercept means where the graph touches the x-axis. So this is considered x-intercept, right? Y-intercept means where does the graph touch the y-axis? So there it is. Okay, but notice that the x-intercept, x is not equal to 0. Y is equal to 0, right? Because from the origin, you don't go up or down. So y is 0. Likewise, take a look at the y-intercept. Is y equal to 0? No, it looks like it's negative something. X is equal to 0 because from the origin, I don't go left or right, but I am going either up or down. Okay, so you might recall x-intercept means y equals 0. Y-intercept means x equals 0. Okay, so I just plug in y equals 0. Put a 0 here. Well, negative 6 times 0 is 0. So it's just 5x equals 30, which means x equals 6. So the point is 6, 0. That's my x-intercept. And now for y-intercept, I plug in x is 0. So put a 0 right there. 5 times 0 is 0. So you pretend it's not even there. So negative 6y equals 30. Divide by negative 6, y equals negative 5. So the point is 0, negative 5. So there it is. They told me to graph it. 6, 0. Draw this. And by the way, don't buy graph paper. You don't need graph paper. Just freehand it like I did here. So 6, let's see, 6, 0, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 0. 0, negative 5. 0, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just connect the dots, and there you go. Okay. All right, so next thing I'm going to show you is number 10. Do you remember what happens if they give me 2 points? Negative 1, 2, and 3, negative 4. Write the equation of the line and write the final answer in slope-intercept form. Okay, and if you didn't get, if that was too fast, don't worry, I wrote it down over here already. Okay, so there's 2 points. Find the equation of the line. So first, I'm going to call this x1, y1, x2, y2. I need to find the slope. Do you recall the formula for the slope? y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. You can put this on your cheat sheet if you wish, if you forgot it. Okay. By the way, side note, just to let you know, if we were meeting on campus and we didn't have the COVID and all that stuff, I would make you guys memorize it. Okay. They told us, okay, we're under COVID, we're all under, different situations. Try to make things a little bit easier for the student. So the way I'm making things a little bit easier for a student is you can have a cheat sheet for the test. Okay, but otherwise I might make you memorize it. Okay, but I'm sure you've seen this before. y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So it's negative 4 minus 2 divided by 3 minus a negative 1. All right, so that's negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6 divided by 3 plus 1 is 4, reduces to negative 3 halves. Okay, so the slope is negative 3 over 2. And then after that, I will do the point slope form. Do you recall the point slope form? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. You say, I forgot that. Put this on your cheat sheet. But we just barely started a class, right? So the more stuff you put in your cheat sheet now, the less you're going to have for other stuff later. So it's your choice. You say, oh, I know this, I have it memorized. Don't put it. But you say, oh, I forgot it, I'm not sure I can remember it on the test. Go ahead and put this on your formula sheet. All right, so that's my x1, y1. That's my m. So here we go. Y minus y1, so y minus 2 equals m, negative 3 over 2, times x minus a minus 1. Okay, if you can't read that, that's x minus a minus 1. So x minus a minus 1 becomes x plus 1. Okay. I know a lot of you are saying, oh, that's very well focused. Can you leave it like that? I can't because I'm lifting this up, and I can't lift it up the whole time. So sorry about that. And I don't have a focus on my document camera. Okay, so just clean this up a little bit. Distribute negative 3 halves x minus 3 halves. Add 2 to both sides in red. So plus 2 over 1. Common denominator is 2. Right? So it's supposed to be plus 2. Right? So plus 2 on both sides. 2 is like 2 over 1. Common denominator is 2. So multiply top and bottom by 2. So I have y equals negative 3 halves x. And then negative 3 plus 4 becomes 1 half. So final answer, y equals negative 3 halves x plus 1 half for question number 10. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's that one. Let's see, what else was I going to show you? Show you problem number 12. recall how to do something like this. Write the equation on a line through -3, -1 that has undefined slope is perpendicular to x equals 4y minus 8. Oh boy. So a lot of you might be saying, oh yeah, I remember doing something like that, but I don't remember a lot of it. That's the reason why I'm spending the time reviewing all this algebra for you. Okay, so let me do number 12. Okay, -3, -1. Okay, part A. You might recall from your algebra, undefined slope, undefined m, means you have a vertical line. Okay, so x equals a constant, that's a k. X equals any constant is a vertical line. Y equals any constant is a horizontal line. The slope is 0. So this is extra. You don't need it for this problem, but I'll box it out. You might recall in algebra, if a slope is 0, you have a horizontal line, y equals k. That says y equals k. So if all you see is y equals 5, y equals -10, that's a horizontal line. If you see x equals 7, x equals -1,000,000, whatever, okay, that's going to be a vertical line. So they want vertical line, which means x equals something. What's the something? Well, what's the x? -3. So the answer is simply x equals -3. Okay, perpendicular, that's a little bit more work. Okay, sorry, I goofed here. So ignore what I have here. Let me start with this. Okay, so the original said, where'd it go? It was x equals 4y. X equals 4y minus 8. Where'd it go? Question 12? Yeah. X equals 4y minus 8. First, I want to solve for y. Okay, so add 8. X plus 8 equals 4y. Divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. So y is equal to x over 4 means 1/4 x plus 2. Okay, so what's the slope of this line? You might recall y equals mx plus b. The m is 1/4. Slope is 1/4. Okay, now, something that's easy to forget from algebra. Two lines are perpendicular if the product of their slopes is -1. Okay, if you call the slopes m1 and m2, when you multiply them, you get -1. Or another way of saying that is if you divide both sides by m2, m1 is equal to -1 over m2. These are called negative reciprocals. Negative reciprocal. Okay, so you know reciprocal, you just flip a fraction. Negative reciprocal means change the sign also. Okay, so if the slope of this line is 1/4, the slope of a line perpendicular to it is the negative reciprocal. So what's the negative reciprocal of 1/4, right? So if you flip it, what do you get? 4. 4 over 1. Negative reciprocal, -4. Okay, so we want M2, that says we want, if you can't see that. We want M2 to be -4 because it's the negative reciprocal of 1/4. Okay, so again, negative reciprocal means flip it, change the sign. So the slope that I want is -4. Okay, then I do the point slope form. All right, so the point that you wanted again was -2, -3, -1. Problem 12. Yeah, I don't know why it switched to yellow. So point slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So the slope was -4. So y minus a -1 equals -4 times x minus a -3. Okay, then I just said etc. Okay, you finish the rest of that. Okay, make it look like y equals mx plus b. Yeah, from time to time, I might just say etc. means you finish the rest of the problem. Okay. Okay, the next one I was going to do was 16, at least part of it. Yeah, 16. F of x equals 5x squared minus 3x. G of x is x plus 1. A, B, and C. F g of x, G of g of x, F circle g of x. Okay, now A is fairly easy. You just multiply them. See where it says FG? Just multiply them together. So the answer to 16 is just that times that. So if you want to just make a note for yourself or watch the video later, it's just that times that. So that's easy. B and C are a little bit harder. It's something called composition of functions. It's a function of a function. So G of x, this one that looks like fog, that's F of G of x. So I'll do C, and if I do C, hopefully you can do B in a similar fashion. C is actually harder. Okay, so let me do 16C. Okay, F circle G of x. F of x was 5x squared minus 3x. G of x equals x plus 1. Now, F circle G of x, that means F of G of x. That means that. Okay. Problem B was G of G of x, this one over here. Okay, so how do you do F of G of x? Okay. Well, by order of operations, when you have parentheses inside parentheses, you do the innermost first, right? So leave the F alone, leave this left paren and leave this right paren alone. Okay. Inside is G of x. But what is G of x equal to? Can you guess what I'm going to put? Hint, you can see it in the rest of the paper. G of x is x plus 1. So now I'm going to do F of x plus 1. Okay. And now the rest of this problem is sort of like that problem we did earlier, that F of x plus h stuff. Okay, so this weird thing goes right here and right here in parentheses. Okay. I mean, start easy. Okay, in algebra, think of your algebra class. Suppose it says f of 2. You would put a 2 right here and a 2 right here, right? Suppose I give you a letter. Suppose it says f of w. Put a w there and a w there. So it's like whatever is behind my finger goes right here and right here. So what am I going to put? X plus 1 in parentheses right there. X plus 1 in parentheses right there. So it's going to look like this. 5. Okay, so if you imagine you erase this x and put parentheses, it's x plus 1 squared. Minus 3 parentheses, x plus 1. Okay, and then I just say etc. Okay, that's not the end of the problem. Okay, but that's as much as I want to teach you. I think you can figure out the rest of that. Okay. Okay, let's see, what time is it? 5:20. I think we're okay. So I'm almost done with the chapter 2 test, chapter 1 test. So maybe I'll sneak in some of chapter 2 today also. Okay, 19 was the word problem. And by the way, we're going to do a lot more of these kind of problems later. Okay, the selling price for an item is $50. The cost function is C of x equals 10x plus 18,000, x number of items. Write the revenue function. Okay, the price is $50. So suppose I sell one item, $50. I sell 2, 50 times 2. I sell 5, 50 times 5. I sell 1,000,000, 50 times 1,000,000. Okay, I sell X, 50 times X. Right? Follow that pattern. We always do that in algebra. Think of what happens with a real number and then substitute for the variable. Okay. So here's the cost function. The revenue function is simply R of X equals 50X. Right? They're $50 each, right? So if I sell 55, I plug in 55. If I sell 316, plug in 316, 50 times 316. right?
Yes. Fine.
If somebody had a question or no? Okay, yeah, it's kind of hard for me to hear. Or those you can put it in the chat. Okay, yeah, everybody please mute yourselves. Okay, part B. Find C of 100 and write a sentence that explains its meaning. The meaning is, if I want to produce 100 items, the cost is blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I just plug in 100. C of 100 is the cost for producing 100 items. Okay, so I want 100 of these items. That's what I'm getting. So C of 100. So I plug in 100. 10 times 100 plus 18,000. Punch it in your calculator, 19,000. Okay, then part C asks for break even. Break even means revenue equals cost, right? You're not making a profit, you're not losing money, you break even. And technically, I guess if you break even, you're still losing money because you want some revenue, you still got to eat and pay your rent and all that stuff, right? Okay, but just set the revenue equal to the cost. So for part C, break even, revenue equals cost. So the revenue function is 50x. I just figured that out. Where'd it go? Yeah, 50x. And I set it equal to 10x plus 18,000. That's all. Okay, subtract 10x on both sides. I have 40x equals 18,000. 40x equals 18,000. Divide by 40. That's what the cross out is. Cancel. So x is equal to 450. Now, they don't tell you what the object is. Okay, I wrote here the word widgets, W-I-D-G-E-T-S, okay, which is sort of a generic word for an item that you sell. So what are you selling? Is it cars? Is it fans? Right? Is it, blenders or whatever? So in general, sometimes we just say widgets. That's the object in general. Okay. All right, I'm actually done with chapter 1. I'm going to do some of chapter 2. I do see something in the chat, so let me open up the chat quickly and see what we have here. Let's see. R of x equals 50x for the revenue function. That's correct. Yeah. Okay. So that's that. Okay, so I'm going to do some of this, and I think I have time to actually give you a quiz. Okay, now don't get scared. As I said before, the quiz, you can help each other out. You'll be in groups of 3 or 4 or something like that, and you'll work together on it. So let me introduce some of chapter 2, 1, 7, 9, 10, and 11. A lot of it is a review of the quadratic formula, and I'm sure you've heard of the quadratic formula before. There's only 5 problems. Okay, so chapter 2. So let me show you that right now. Okay, so my chapter 2. Okay, so it's my page 175. So this question 1, sketch a graph of each of the following functions. Okay, so that's 1. And what else did we have? I'm trying to find my list. 7 and 9. There's 7. Oh, I guess it's, 7, 9, 10, and 11. Oh, they're all over here. Here we are. 7, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so number 1, sketch the graph of the following functions. Okay, x to the 4th, absolute value of x. B, remember that bar says absolute value, and then -1 and square root of x. Okay, so I'll show you a couple of those. Number 1. A asks for x to the 4th power. X to the 4th power. Now, if you ever say I have absolutely no idea what to do, yeah, that's the answer, but pretend you didn't have it. Just make a small table. So I made a little chart that goes from -2 to 2. And yeah, you might not be able to see it, so let me raise it up there. Okay, so I just said -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and I just plug in stuff. Okay, so if I plug in 0, 0 to the 4th power is 0. 1 to the 4th power, 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Okay. 2 to the 4th, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. Okay. In case you're wondering, yes, the breakout rooms are going to be random, so it'll be different every time I do this. I'll randomly assign you to groups of either 3 or 4. When I plug in -1, -1 to the 4th power is still 1. And -2 to the 4th power, -2 times -2 times -2 times -2 is 16. Okay. All right. So then I just plot these points. So the biggest y value was 16. So I just go like that. By the way, notice the way I have this graph. I have no negative y's. So since none of the y's is negative, I don't devote space to that. So I just go like this. I go up to 16 and -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Okay, we'll start the quiz shortly. Okay, you'll have about 15 minutes or maybe even more to do the quiz. Okay, so -2, 16 is way over here. -1, 1. Sorry, I'm raising up the paper. I don't know if you can see me doing it, but if I put it down on a table, it's like that, but you can't see it as well. So my hand's shaking also. 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 16. All right, so that's that. Okay, I will show you D as in dog. Y equals square root of x. Okay. Now, do you remember something about square root? There are some numbers we cannot take the square root of, right? I cannot take the square root of a negative number. Can you take the square root of 0? Yeah, what's the square root of 0? 0. Okay, so in my table, I got 0. Square root of 1 is 1. I'm not going to plug in 2. It's not nice. I'm not going to plug in 3. It's not nice. I am going to plug in 4. What do you get when you plug in 4? 2. Okay. I don't like 5. I don't like 6. Can you guess what's the next nice number? You don't have to say it or put it in the chat.
9.
Think. 9. Because I like the square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3. Okay. All right, that's good enough. So here we go. Here's my graph. I only have the first quadrant. No second quadrant, no third quadrant, no fourth quadrant. I don't need it. I don't want it because everything's positive except for the origin. So 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 9, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so square root function looks something like that. Okay, so that's all. And the last time I taught the class, I showed you the graph of x squared. Y equals x squared looks something like that, right? You might recall. X to the 4th is kind of the same, only it's sharper. X to the 4th. Okay, this was x squared. Okay, I was only going to do one more problem, and then I'll give you the quiz. Okay, number 7. It's called a piecewise defined function. So we look at 7. They break it up into pieces. Okay, and then the only problems left, by the way, are 9, 10, 11. They are quadratic formula. 9, 10, 11 are quadratic formula. I'll write the quadratic formula for you. I'll show it to you. Okay. Do you remember doing a piecewise defined function? So if x is less than or equal to 1, I obey this rule. If x is greater than 1, I obey this rule. Okay, so how do I do that? Okay, y equals x squared. We already know x squared looks like that. Do you remember that from your algebra? Or you can make a table like this. But after a while, you want to know quickly, oh yeah, that's y equals x squared. Okay. what's the shape of 4 minus x? Hint, mx plus b. You can think of it as negative x plus 4. It's linear. It's a straight line where the slope is -1, -1 over 1, rise over the run. Okay? So for y equals x squared, I would normally graph this whole thing, but it's only valid for x is less than or equal to 1. So in this graph, pretend you don't have this part over here. I'm using my finger to cover it up. I'm only going to graph that, including 1. So that's an open, sorry, that's a closed circle. Okay, so if x is 1, I have 1. That's a closed circle, and then I just draw my parabola. This is called a parabola. Or you can plug in. If you plug in 0, you get 0. If you plug in -1, you get 1. If you plug in a -2, what's -2 squared? 4. That's over here. Okay, so it looks like that. But if I plug in a number bigger than 1, I obey this rule. Okay. Now, what do you get when you plug in 1? Right there. 4 minus 1, 3. So 1, 3, but it's an open circle because I don't have that line underneath it. So it's an open circle. What do I get when I plug in 2? 2. So 2, 2. Plug in 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So 3, 1. 4, 0, and so on. So I just connect it like that. So that's about it. Okay, so I was going to stop there. Now, the last problems, I'll do that next Tuesday, 9, 10, and 11. They are the quadratic formula. Here's the quadratic formula again if you need it. It's probably in your notes in your old book. X equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. No doubt you've had a teacher that made you memorize it in the past. Since I'm letting you have a formula sheet, you can put this on your cheat sheet. Okay, remember, you can only have a limited amount on your formula sheet, so you kind of have to budget yourself and say, do I really need this? Or some of you say, oh yeah, I know the quadratic formula, so you don't have to write it. X is -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, and I will stop and work on the quiz now. So I'm going to do that. Get your cell phones out, or maybe you do a screen share, because I'm going to show it to you. You'll take a picture and then work on it. Let me answer some questions in the chat. Let's see, 04, got that. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, so get your cell phones out. I'll show you the quiz. It's due at 5:55. Okay, and the way it works is when I put you in your breakout rooms, you put your name, put all the other members on your team's names on it. You work on it together. Okay, take a picture on your cell phone. Click, 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 submit it. Okay, I will only grade one person's quiz on the team. You're all going to get the same grade. So if you're the straight A student and say, oh, I got it, I don't care about anybody else, that's not going to work, because I might not grade your quiz. I might grade somebody else's quiz, which may not have it all correct. Okay, so I guess your goal is you do it right, then you tell everybody else to get it right also. Okay, and as far as showing your screen, that's optional. To me, it's kind of weird if you're talking to somebody and you can't see it. It's like you're covering your eyes, but that's up to you. I know some of you might want to just kind of go like that to show everybody what it's all about. Okay, so here we go. Here's the quiz. Take a picture on your cell phone or screen share, or screenshot rather. Okay, number 1, multiply and simplify x plus 2 times x squared minus 2x plus 4. Number 2, solve the equation 3 times x minus 5 plus 4 times x squared minus 5x equals 4x squared. Okay, I am going to say number 2, I believe it ends up to be a fraction. Just leave it as a fraction. Don't change it to a decimal. Okay, so I'll hold this for another 15 seconds or so. So take a picture on your cell phone, or maybe you can write it real quickly or do a screenshot. Go ahead and get started, and I'll set your breakout rooms. Okay, so again, when I set you in your breakout rooms, put your name down, put everybody in your breakout room's name down. I will be in the main room. If I have time, I'll visit you in your breakout room. you can always leave your breakout room and then, you know, ask me a question. If you finish early, you can just leave, okay? And then just leave, take a picture on your cell phone, and send me an email, mhom@ccsf.edu, okay? And I'll grade one person in your group, okay? So your goal is to get it right and get everybody else in your group to get it right also. So that way, it doesn't matter who I grade, you've got it, okay? All right, I'm going to assume everybody has it now. So let me stop the share. I will stop recording because we don't need to record anymore.